Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakahakwadash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone who ruled and teach well. In peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. Shabbat Shalom. This is the brother Ra'aya coming at you with another lesson, and I'm going to start it off in Psalms 58, verse 3. The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. And the wicked of the scriptures, the border of wickedness, as pursuant to Malachi 1 verse 4, and the wicked whom the earth has been given into the hands of in Job 9 verse 24, are the biblical Edomites, who are known as these so-called white people today. And as it said, the wicked are estranged from the womb. They go forth speaking lies as soon as they be born. You cannot believe anything that these Edomites tell you, especially towards you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans who are the true children of Israel. This whole system is built against you to deceive you, and keep you locked into this paradigm where you think you're so-called Black, Latino, Native American, and that the ultimate authority is what Esau says, what the government says, and anything outside of that is lies. And I opened up the video with this verse to preface a clip from Middle Nation's YouTube channel titled "Stop Looking for Allies, Why Western," which, is just Edomite, support is not solidarity. And, the guy in this clip, I think his name is Shahid Bolson, hey, all the points he's making perfectly backs up Psalms 58 verse 3, because he's a Ishmaelite, or so-called Arab, and some brothers have speculations that he could be an Israelite foreigner, which he's smooth with the way he presents himself and his talking points. But regardless, what he's talking about is how Muslims shouldn't take the word of the so-called white man, the Western Edomite man, as the ultimate authority. And whenever they throw them some bones showing solidarity for what the Palestinians in Gaza or them in general, that they shouldn't believe it, because at the end of the day, like I just said, this whole system is designed to keep you Israelites in subjection and to constantly lie to you. And he's saying the same thing in regards to his people. But regardless, this is a fair use copyright disclaimer. I do not own any of the footage in this clip, nor do I stand to gain from it monetarily. It is simply for educational purposes. And also another disclaimer: this is a video not supporting Islam, the Quran, or Muslims, because with that camp out there, IUIC, that's doing joint get-togethers with the Nation of Islam, hey, that's putting a bad image on the Hebrew Israelites, that we're in solidarity with Muslims or Islam or anything like that, which the true prophets are not. And if you're an Israelite, you shouldn't be either. As it says in Isaiah 34 verse 16, none shall want her mate. Seek ye out of the book of the Lord, which is the scriptures, which is the only place that has 100% truth. All these other, doctrines and philosophies may make good points out there, but, they are not the true words of the Lord. Just throwing that out there. But I'm going to play about the first 5 minutes or so of this video.
One of the most frustrating things for me, and frankly, embarrassing tendencies that I see among Muslims today, especially online, especially on social media, particularly in the English language Muslim social media, Twitter and so forth, is this reflexive obsession with sharing and amplifying the words of Westerners, usually white men.
And our people, especially in America, do the same thing. They've got, as he'll put it, that colonized mindset, that inferiority complex, to where, they look at Esau as the ultimate authority, And whatever they believe in can't be validated until, Esau gives his blessings towards it. He's dealing with the same thing with his people.
And whenever they say something that sounds vaguely pro-Palestinian or critical of Israel or pro-Muslim, or even vaguely anti-imperialist, the moment one of them says, Israel maybe shouldn't be killing children, well, Muslims flood their pages, repost their statements, and act like the gates of justice have finally creaked open because someone important has finally spoken, as if their voices make our cause valid. This is a colonized mind at work, in my opinion. It's the internalized inferiority that still sees the white Western man as the ultimate judge of what's right and what's wrong and what's important. As if the...
Hey, our people deal with the same damn thing. This is Jeremiah 2, verse 14. Is Israel a servant? Is he a homeborn slave? Why is he spoiled? And, for 2/3 of you Israelites out here, hey, you are, servants and homeborn slaves. You've got that colonialized mindset to where you feel inferior to Esau, and anything you believe in can't be validated until, he gives the green light for it. And hey, y'all come against this word, the truth, because we tell you that what? You're better than Esau. You're better than all these nations, and that the power of the universe is for you only, and you're going to rule over them, and that everything this Edomite says is lies. But due to your colonized mindset and your inferiority complex, and you being a spiritual homeborn slave, you fight against, your own heritage, your identity. So what? You can keep Massa happy, so you can stay being a house nigga.
The truth needs to be echoed by the empire itself before it becomes truth. Look, they have a remarkable knack for being able to say something that's true while still lying. Bear that in mind. Because listen, we cannot trust anything that they say. That's a fact. The history of the Western world is a history of lies, of betrayal.
The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go forth speaking lies as soon as they be born.
Mass murder, moral hypocrisy on an industrial scale. They have never stood with the oppressed without a hidden agenda. Not once, not ever. When they speak, they are not speaking to you. They're not speaking for you. And you can never let them do that. And furthermore, they're not speaking with you or to you. They are speaking to each other, for each other.
And that's a beautiful point he made. They have never stood with the oppressed unless there was an agenda behind it. This is Psalms 55, verses 20 to 21. He hath put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. He hath broken his covenant. And, last week I did a lesson with the elder brother down here, Yakanag, called Land Grabbers. And we were going into how I think it was like 375 treaties that the American Edomites made with the so-called Native Americans or the Gadites. They broke. He hath broken his covenant and put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. When these Edomites came over here, these colonizers, the northern kingdom, was friendly to them. On the East Coast, a lot of those Edomites didn't know how to cultivate the earth. So what? They were starving and dying, and Gad helped them out. And for that help, what happened? They went to war against Gad and pushed Gad off their land onto those hellish reservations. Verse 21, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. They're coming peaceably, but what? At the end of the day, there's a hidden agenda behind it, to take what you have and subvert you. Again, that quote that Shahid Bolson made, they have never stood with the oppressed unless there was a hidden agenda behind it.
Each other. You understand? When Western non-Muslims are talking to each other, well, that's a team meeting. It's a strategy briefing. Adjustments to the narrative. Calibration of tactics. That's all that is. They're managing the optics of empire. They never have a team meeting except to plan on how they can get the upper hand on every other team, which is us.
The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart.
Never look for validation from your enemies. If you do that, you're going to make the grave mistake of thinking that maybe they're not even your enemies anymore at all, just because they say some things that you agree with.
Is Israel a homeborn servant? Is he a slave? Why is he spoiled? Because what? You're seeking the validation of your enemies, thinking they are actually your friends and have your best interest at heart. They had that book, The White Man's Bible, where the Edomite that wrote that book said, the dumbest creature on the face of the earth is, the two dumbest creatures on the face of the earth is one that believes that his enemy is his friend, and two, one that actually helps his enemy that leads to his own oppression.
But if you're clear on the fact that they are your enemies, and you should be, then you'll understand that this is nothing but a tactic. They're not on your side, no matter how much you might like what they say, no matter how true it seems. They're just learning your language, your emotional language, your ideological language, your moral language. Because you can't propagandize people except in their own language. You can't deceive people except in their own language. You can't make a sales pitch except in the language of the one you're trying to sell to.
This is Jeremiah 2:33. Why trimmest thou thy way to seek love? Therefore hast thou also taught the wicked ones thy ways. As Shahid Bolson said, they're learning your language to better manipulate and propagandize you. Hey, these Edomites study Jake from every angle, from the lingo, the dress, the mindset, what you like. So what? They can tailor their propaganda to manipulate you that much easier. And Jake is more than happy to trim his ways to seek love from Esau, letting Esau come into their spaces and learn their ways. Then as it said, therefore thou hast also taught the wicked one thy ways. And now that Esau knows you on a more intimate level, he's able to manipulate you that much easier. And as you can see, every point he's making, we can get it out of the scriptures. We're not getting it out of the Quran.
You understand? So they adopt your language, your moral language, your sentiments, your rhetoric, your posture. They mimic your sympathies as a tactic just to get close to you. I'm telling you, when Western non-Muslims, when they say anything at all, well, you should treat it like there's someone talking in a police investigation and you're the investigator, And you should treat it like you already have a whole file of evidence in your hands about them, because you do. You have the Quran, you have the Sunnah, you have the Hadiths,
Which you can toss all that in the trash can. Isaiah 34:16. Seek ye out of the book of the Lord and read. Hey, none shall want her mate. No other book, ideology, philosophy, or whatever compares to the 144% accuracy of the scriptures.
And another meaning of the word ayat is evidence, is proof. We already have a massive file about the non-Muslims, about the kuffar. And everything that they say has to be weighed against that evidence. We know you're lying, but we can learn a lot about someone by how they lie and about what. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala already warned you directly, unambiguously, that the Jews and the Christians will never be pleased with you until you follow their way. Well, understand that this isn't just about belief. This isn't just about religion. It's just not only about aqidah. It's about power. It's about systems. This is about allegiance and loyalty. You'll never win their approval unless and until you bow to their worldview, to their narratives, till you adopt their frameworks and their priorities, until you follow their way, not only spiritually, but politically, economically, and ideologically. But here you are thinking that if some celebrity or some, well-known person, some politician in the West just throws you a crumb of empathy, well, it means that the tide is turning. No, it means that they are adapting their language just to keep you hooked, to keep you docile, to keep you impressed, and still waiting for their approval, still treating them as important, treating their approval and their support as decisive, but it isn't. I mean, let me remind you, the West didn't even support Nelson Mandela until he was no longer a threat. They didn't care about the brutality of colonialism until they could no longer profit from it, until they had to come up with a new way to do it. They didn't oppose apartheid until it was economically inconvenient, until they couldn't profit from that. They won't stand with Palestine unless and until they can figure out how to do it without threatening their own power structure. And that's exactly what we're seeing now. That's exactly why we're seeing what we're seeing now. Because the A National OCGFC have gotten on board with the new regional vision for the Middle East. They're not doing it for moral reasons. They're not doing it for reasons of conscience. They're doing it for reasons of power and profit. They'll never give up or substitute any evil method for self-enrichment unless someone can come up with a different way of doing it, or else when they have no choice.
The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. He spoke peaceable words, but were swords drawn. That's it with this clip. Now I'm going to close it out in Ecclesiasticus or Sirach in the Apocrypha, chapter 12. I'm going to read verses 10 to 17. Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. And, once rust gets into something, it never comes out. And the wicked are estranged from the womb. They go forth speaking lies as soon as they be born. These Edomites are wicked from the womb and have that natural hate and adversity towards you Israelites, so you can never trust them. Though he humble himself and go crouching, he was against those that were at peace with them and broke all the covenants. Again, with the Gadites, Esau comes with peaceable words, but what? He overthrows you, takes your land, and pushes you on a reservation. Or what, the civil rights movement, feminism, or anything like that. We're coming to bring equality and women's rights. But now what do you see? Single parent households, broken homes, and just completely destroyed communities out here. Yet take good heed and beware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou hadst wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust hath not been altogether wiped away. Set him not by thee, lest when he hath overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place. Back during the Dark Ages, before the Renaissance, when those Edomites started coming out of those caves, Jake started cleaning them up and mingling amongst them and teaching them their ways. And then what happened? They overthrew you Jakes and stole your identity. Now we're the British. Now we're the Germans. We were the medieval knights. Y'all were just, half-naked tribesmen with plates in your lips in Africa that didn't learn about civilization until we colonized you. Lest he seek to take thy seat, and thou at the last remember my words and be pricked therewith. Who will pity a charmer that is bitten with a serpent, or any such as cometh nigh wild beasts? So one that goeth to a sinner, and is defiled with him in his sins, who will pity? Hey, again, the white man's Bible. The two dumbest creatures on the face of the earth are ones that believe that their enemies are their friends, and two, those that actually help their enemies to overthrow them. Verse 15, for a while he will abide with thee, but if thou begin to fall, he will not tarry. An enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips. His words were like butter, but in his heart he imagineth how to throw thee into a pit. But war was in his heart. He will weep with his eyes, but if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood. If adversity come upon thee, thou shalt find him there first. And though he pretend to help thee, yet shall he undermine thee. And notice, whenever you Israelites go through something, who's always the first one there to help you out? So-called white man, Esau. Let's look at 2019 to 2021. They were saying the highest groups that got the C019 were so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. So they should be pushed to the front of the line to receive that juice. And now in 2025, we're seeing all the adverse effects from drinking the Kool-Aid. But that's it with this video. With this video, I hope you sincere Akim and Akwath were edified. Just keep strong. We are almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites. And also, never trust thine enemy. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babal, Kwam Yasharala, and until next time, Shabbat Shalom.